joining these other folks back here. Where's Michelle? Hello. How are you today? Oh, sorry. Recognize any of those other folks back there?
Welcome everybody. You're all wondering why we're here, because we have nothing better to do with our time. But no, we're here to try to educate you on something a little bit. First of all, the Ohio legislature passed a statute called 5747.502 just recently. And the gist of it is, it talks about allocations of monies to local governments, i.e. municipalities, commissioners, township governments. We already do some of this, like I say, in the public library sector. This is now anything that doesn't have anything to do with the library. This deals with most of your governments. The gist of it is, in fact, I think that Mike will give you the historic, since he's the one guy on this board. We're the board of the Budget Commission that was there in 2001. 2000. So he's the ancient. He'll tell you presently what the current system is. The gist of it is, we allocate our funds we get from the state government every year in our budgets, and then we give it to you townships, commissioners, municipalities, cities, municipals, as well as villages. It's based on a formula that we've been using since 2000, which is I'll let Mike explain the formula, but it deals with several variables. One of them, the biggest one, I think two of the biggest, maybe population as well as road mileage. Now, the gist of the statute is they passed it. They said, hey, you've got to come up with a portion plan for these governments, i.e. you folks. And we're making it now, we're codifying it, putting it in the code. And you have to do it within a year. The first year has to be within a year of passing the statute. That's why we're having meetings tonight, within a year. And then basically, you folks have to decide, what formula you want to have for distribution. And if you don't come up with one, then us, the budget committee, get to come up with a formula. We did that sort of, I'm going to admit, we did that sort of with the libraries. We asked for some input. But when it got right down to it, we came up with a formula there that we did submit, use, and basically the Board of Tax Commissioners in Columbus did in the case. Now, the idea here is, tonight is to talk to you a little bit about the present formula. So some of you are not in government, explaining to you. If you have alternative ideas, put them forth. We also have to give you the opportunity to offer testimony. Now tonight, we're not going to take that testimony, but what I'm thinking is we're going to hold another meeting, we'll say the end of September, and if we have that date, we'll give it to you tonight, where that means you've had all the month of July, all the month of August, and all the month of September to talk to your constituents, i.e. your governing bodies, so that when you come to the next meeting, you're prepared maybe to make your decision known to us or vote, or offer testimony. At that meeting, we'll decide whether you've got an agreement, a majority agreement. If you don't, then we have to go back to the drawing board and come up with a formula. It's possible we may adopt the formula that we already have. That's within our discretion. However, the idea is to give you the input. If you have a better way to build a widget, we're willing to listen to it. Ideas, there's no one formula that's fair to everybody. This is something, brainchild, that we've used for years, trying to be fair to everybody across the board. With that, I'm going to let Mike talk about the history of what we have right now so you can understand that.
Okay. Thanks for coming, everyone. And I do want to introduce Brianne as our treasurer. That's a girl for Denise. I want to make sure everybody knows who she is. What makes up the Budget Commission? It's myself, prosecutor, and I am actually the secretary for the board. We can include 2 more board members through a ballot initiative, which has not been done. I don't know if any county has done that yet. So it's just 3 members. We make the decision and go forward. Now, this is coming from Lake County, so some of the stuff in the blue. Budget Commission can include any factor it considers appropriate, reliable, and sole discretion. And that's what we did in 2000. I don't know how many meetings we had. There's not too many here that were during that time frame. We met out the booths. I think that was finally we got the final breakdown was. Randy, were you there? Okay, there we go. I got one. So was it the moose? I think, wasn't it?
I'm sorry.
Was it at the moose? It was the banquets, I think. Yeah, yes, got it. So it took a lot of, and there was some, like Brad said, when we had everybody pass the resolution, you had a choice of accepting or rejecting. So what it is, the county has 1 vote. Largest city, the 2nd vote. The majority of the other entities have a vote combined. So it was 15-7 with the other entities, so it passed. So I think 1 did not vote. So at that time. So there are limits, with what we can have, and we'll go over some of those later here. So what factors, now go to the next page, factors that some of the other counties are using, population like we are, fixed percentage. That's what we had before. Remember? We had a number. Anybody remember Maryland Woods? I think Maryland designed it, with the old way they used to do it, and it stayed the same, basically. So there was no meaning behind it, there was just a percent. And we had it for the libraries also. And we had a meeting at the AMVETS, just before Brad, and we basically said, you come up with your percentages, and they could not. We actually left the meeting, so they got pretty rowdy. So, because the pie is just this big, and it doesn't grow. But anyways, these factors, road miles, only like 8 of them use. Wealth, I'm not sure how they use wealth, and we don't use square miles, but we use road miles, like I said there, and then we do use the population. So there are different things for each formula. So, any questions yet? I'll pass through this. So next one is what the county, what the resolution looked like, how they approved it. So everybody had a different format, but it's pretty much, the words are all the same. 50% Hardin County, 14th the largest city, which is Kenton, 16% of the villages, 20% of the townships. And the village and then townships then take a ratio, of 50% road miles, 25% valuation, and 25% population. So it's a lot of 3 factors is all we use this time. So, like Brad said, if you have ideas, we would listen, is how much the county gets. Okay, last year, for this current year, we had 915,863. That's about, it's higher than what we used to get, but a lot lower than what we, when it started. We used to get over about 1.5 million in the county one time, and it's dropped to 750 was the lowest it dropped to, and now it's slowly itched up. And the percent, the 1.7%, I think they've juggled that around a little bit year to year, but they use the general revenue tax sources from the state. So who knows what those are? I don't know where we don't have the tables to show where they get their numbers from, but we do get this letter. We'll get this next month for the new year. We don't know what it's going to be yet, but that'll be for next year. So after we have our meeting, we have to advertise in the paper, and then we send this out to you what each of the subdivisions get percentage-wise and the amount. Everybody's seen those before. And we haven't had, we usually do that in the latter part of August, I think. When we have the library meeting, we just lump it in. Next page is actually taking the villages with the road miles, population, and valuation. We take the 915 that we were distributed to Hardin County. 16% would be 146,538, and then we look through the percentages to figure out how much each percent-wise you're going to get, and then that multiplies to the grand total. So this is not with the rebound numbers, okay? So the rebound numbers will be used for the next year that we just had. So I did the numbers; they don't change a whole heck of a lot. So it stays pretty stable. I think that was the biggest thing back then, Randy. Entities wanted to have some kind of stability in what they were going to get every year, because before there was no,
And the numbers were just not even close to what they should have.
no, there was certain townships that were getting a large amount and didn't know why. Nobody knew why. So nothing against the township. So the next sheet has actually the townships, how they break down, same kind of formula, road miles, population valuation. So not much questions on that. A lot of numbers I know, I'm not going to go over everyone in the session. So in 2018, the state says we're going to give more money to the entities. So in the next one, where the townships, they get what's called a supplemental. In 18, they started doing this. So these have been pretty close to the same every year. And it goes by road miles. These are part of our formula. And they have a TEC reduction. Anybody know what that is? I had to look it up. And it probably blew all over the place. The tax traffic enforcement camera fines. So I have to say, traffic enforcement, I didn't know what it was. I was like, what the heck is a TSC? So I suppose it's enemies that have those. They offset those. So as you see, I'll pick on Blanchard since they're in the back row. They have $527.92 a month, per month. So, and then all the wells fall through there. The villages, oops, going all over. Yeah, it's right there. This one, Paul. Okay. Villages are on the next page, excuse me, except for the ones that are below 1,000, and we'll catch up those. Like Alger gets $483 extra every month, since he's Paul sitting right there. And he can be Marion Township too. So, and then on the back sheet is what the largest villages over 1,000 are in the city of Kent. So like the city of Kent gets an extra $40,097. Forest gets $6,800, and Ada gets $26,911. So those are the things that they came back with to give more money to. The county, our share, we do not get any extra. We get our 50% of the $900 that it was this past year, and that's all we get. So, I mean, that was a quick overview, but is there any questions? I know it's quick, but
Mike, it seems technical. townships get 20%, villages get 16%. Why not 18? I mean, is the formula just dictates that?
That's,
Road mileage is primarily that?
I think, no, I can't remember, while we came with the 20% for sure, and I don't have any notes on that. I think because there was 15 townships, you know, and the villages, you know, break down by 15, and the villages, you only had, what, 7 to break down, so.
Yeah, I was just curious, and I'm gonna take this back and look at it, and maybe I can have a more intelligent conversation next time, but
Yeah.
on the surface anyway, I know the township runs relatively the same. We do road, cemetery, ditch work, and that's about it. And that's just Marion Township. I don't know about these others. As far as the village though, there's a lot more moving parts in the village. There's a lot more variables in the village. And I was just curious as to
Yeah, I don't remember.
When we first started this, you know, for whatever the reason was, God love Maryland, because Buck Township was way up here.
Yeah.
It was not even close to where it should have been. Marion was on the bottom.
Right.
And-
Roundhead was high too, I believe.
Well,
Or
I can't remember who else it was.
Yeah.
I know we were really high. And the main focus at that time was, unfortunately, Buck Township lost. But, you know, even as much as we didn't like it, we understood, because back then, Marion was really, really struggling. And there were some other townships, small townships, that had issues. So, and again, I don't remember the whole process, like that was too long ago.
Yeah.
But, you know, we tried to get a more balanced percentage so that you wouldn't have, just like us, clear up here, and you guys clear down here. We came up with a formula to make it more even for everybody.
Well, I applaud that because it does seem to be very equitable. But, and I know that conditions would vary from township to township, depending on what's going on. I get it.
You noticed on the formula, the three basic things we emphasize are road miles, population, evaluation. These are set, these are data we get usually, you know, a year behind, it lags. But this is data that isn't necessarily manipulated by anybody. In other words, you can't change road miles, it is pretty much what it is. Population, that's going to be tied in, but the government's doing censuses, that you can't manipulate. Valuation, okay, but we get subject to 3-year, 5-year renewals on valuations all the time, so that's always a fluctuating thing. One thing we didn't put in there and haven't used is like need. Well, need is very subjective. Each township will come up with a basis to justify, hey, we got these projects, we need this money. That's very subjective, and we don't know whether it's legit or not. We don't know if the budget really is in line with that project. So we don't look at need. We look at data that can't be manipulated, but it's fair to distribute with. And that's why these were sort of picked over time. But I wanted to emphasize that we didn't look at anybody's necessary needs. We all know you need money. No one's going to turn out money. The question is to avoid somebody who's stacking the bill or padding the bill, so to speak. So we use data we don't think is subjective. It does have growth because obviously the valuation is always going to go up. So is population. Road miles is one constant. And you notice that represents 50% of the disbursement. So that gives stability there. It's not going to change. So the government's saying, hey, we had this much last year. How much are we going to get next year? They can rest assured that a big percentage of that, 50% of that, this money is pretty stable. The rest of it is playing with your census and your population. But even those changes are very minor. I mean, no big changes. But will it be minor enough that it really throws a whack in your budgets? I don't think so.
No.
So that's why we use those things and try to stay away from subjective. So I just wanted you to understand that.
So what each entity did was, this is a resolution that was passed or adopted or rejected, I guess. So this is Buck Township, they rejected it, so. So we knew they were going to, but that's okay. We worked with them, so. But that's what everybody submitted that back to us. not any changes, status quo.
What I sort of propose is, tonight you're getting this stuff given to you the first time. Some of you are familiar with it, some of you aren't. Go back, you're gonna still have to go back and talk to your bodies, because you take your decision-making in a sunshine law created meeting. You're gonna have, in my opinion, I would like to give you at least 3 meetings, or 3 months. That's enough time for some of you to have more than 1 meeting. And what we're gonna do is send you a letter at the next meeting, at which time you can give testimony if you wish. We'll also include a form in there that if you agree with the present situation, we'll explain it in the letter. If you agree with the present distribution, you can just say, hey, Liberty Township agrees, and then send the form back. You don't necessarily need to be at the next meeting. You don't necessarily have to offer any testimony. However, you can if you wish. If you say agree, reject, that's fine. Your vote nay will be noted, and you still have the opportunity to come to the meeting and offer some sort of testimony. We also will take any acceptance, any alternate plans. I mean, this isn't rocket scientist stuff, but it's what we consider the fairest that we've seen over the years. We're not alone with using this. Other counties use similar formulas. They twink a little bit, but they use similar formulas. So that's why I think we need to have another meeting, because you can't make necessarily decisions for your constituents, your government. Your boards have to make those decisions. But hopefully, if you have time to debate it, talk about it, you can get your decision made before the next meeting. You can let us know in advance, and we'll go from there. That night, I would like to take the vote. As you might say, historically, last time it was 11 to, what was it?
Well, 1-1, 2 voted yes, and then it was like 15 to 7, I believe, on the municipalities and the townships.
Yeah, so
15 for it, 7 against.
again, it wasn't unanimous, but yet everybody had opportunity to speak. Now we have more data, more education. You see the system, how it's worked. So you have a little more history, historical aspect to look at. That's where we're coming from and why we're meeting tonight. The statute also says we have to meet within a year to do this. And then the statute also says we have to do it every 5 years. So once we get done with 2024, we'll see you in 2029. Doing the same thing again. Probably having the same discussion, going through the same forums, talk about formulas.
I think one of the things that was in the handout was that the decisions are final, and I think I disagree with Lake County on that, because we have been appealed with Board of Tax Appeals with the library situation. I mean, I had to go down to Board of Tax Appeals and testify, Brad actually had to drill me, and see whether that our formula was acceptable. Well, it was on all points. We have 7 factors to go into the libraries, not 3, 7, and we brainstormed through it back and forth. We came close, and then one library did not like it. We were phasing it in, so it wasn't going to be immediate impact, because it was somewhat drastic for the one. And they did not like it. They filed an appeal. We went to the Board of Tax Appeals. Board of Tax Appeals said, good formula, don't phase. So we had to implement now. So then libraries we had to go back and correct.
We had to repay, yeah.
Yeah,
It was dirty.
Johnson and the
Messy.
So
But they did adopt, what they did though, they adopted the formula. They had the idea of the variables that we used in that particular situation. So the variable system was good. The road mileage was a big one with that one too.
One big difference I'm hearing tonight than versus the library is majority will rule on this. We have to have a unanimous decision with all the libraries. So everybody has to agree to change it, and no one's going to agree to lose money or to not. So we're stuck with the formula. So the majority rule I like a little bit better. It gives everybody a better voice, I think.
Yeah, I agree with that.
Maybe we can change that in the libraries, but that's just another meeting, another discussion.
like I said, well, the county has one, largest city, and then the majority of the other on the makeup. So that's by statute. So.
Anybody got any questions? That's what the meeting's about tonight. We're just giving you your first taste of it. And I know you gotta take the pamphlets back and try to explain it to your constituents.
You can call me if you need to.
Mike can be a guest speaker.
I'll be gone next week. After that, I'll be back.
How convenient.
Yes. No, it was just it's set a year ago. So.
Leanna, what do you got anything you would like to offer about?
I've not had any complaints other than Bug Township, they didn't come in and I'm just kidding, you were there, I mean,
I was there.
yeah, they were there, they weren't hiding anything, so, I mean, it was fine, it was cordial. And I understood it,
It'll work out.
yeah. I mean, we had to do something. And remember, if you don't have it, you go back to the statutory method and back to what Brad said down, you're doing, you know, you're pulling numbers and you don't know if they're right and there's no way to prove them. I was on that side of the fence at the city of Kenton. I mean, we were buying police cruisers and stuff like that every year, so it was, you know, it made the need, you had to show need, basically, so. And what was bad with that is, one year you could show need, and next year you lose it. It was not a stable formula, so.
If we have questions in between our meetings, we call your